How to double your salary, part 23. This is the chapter 7, dilemmas. We all have dilemmas, and one of the dilemmas is the salary or self-employment. The other one is whether it is my efforts or God's grace which will get me the results, or in other words, chance or choice. Then eternal dilemma of or now or never. Then the final one is about family or the career. And now more and more people are talking about family first. And of course there can be many more questions or doubts, but this chapter 7 talks about the dilemmas which I had faced during my career, and while I did not change my goal or objective of doubling my salary, but there were many times my goal is tested by these dilemmas. Of course, the final one is the salary or slavery. But why should you work? Something like that. So let's now today in this audio version of the book, we'll cover some of the dilemmas. Maybe the other part will cover others. The salary or self-employment doubt. Why do we ask this question? If you recall our first chapter, we discussed how many think money means salary. If you ask me why double the salary, many of you might say that to double my take-home money. Not necessarily. Even if your salary is double, I would say that your take-home salary may not be double. I realized it sometime when I went back to India as head of the process and design and also vice president for a mega project. My salary has increased, but the tax was almost on the 30% or the top of the salary structure. So I didn't calculate that when I returned to India, that because in Middle East I didn't pay the taxes, so India had to pay the maximum tax. So don't ever do that mistake that your salary means higher take home pay. Recently I went to a school. I asked the children, why are you studying? All of them gave me the same answer. They said to get a good job. I asked them again, why good job? Surprisingly, all of them answered it is for a good salary, or then I asked the same question to the teachers. Most of them agreed, and they said yes, by education you will get a good job. Then I turned to the headmistress and I asked her that. She is of course definitely a little bit wise, and they said, sir, the way you are asking questions to children, then teachers, and then to me, it appears to me that the answer is not right. But at the same time, I don't think of anything answer other than a good employment or a job for education. I said, yes, that is the catch which I wanted to get you. See, there were in the initial days in India, the education was free, and there is no guarantee that you will get an employment for your for education. And those days, many of them were not going for education. The reason they are not going for education, because education doesn't mean that it will give you a good job. In fact, there were so many Brahmins who got a good education who are begging. Of course, for them the getting money or is not the main criteria. And the four purusharthas, the purpose of life: money, artha; kama, the desire; dharma, that is the duty; and the fourth is moksha, that is liberation. Out of the four, education was supposed to be giving you the liberation, so not the money. But when Britishers came, they changed the format. They started telling education is for employment. Of course, they did that because they didn't know the Indian languages and we didn't know their languages. So they taught us English and then they told us, why should you learn English? To get an employment. So the same BA was given for a clerk, the same BA was a qualification for an IAS, and even if you don't have the degree, but if you know English, then you can work as an interpreter and then you can earn a lot. So most of the people, especially in South, who have done English education, they have done quite well in the jobs as well as in that. That is still continuing. Without digressing, let's go back to the salary or the self-employment. So I said the purpose of education is good character. The end of education, as Baba said, is character. However, nobody is advising that you don't take salary or you don't go for a job. But what I am telling is, if many people who have learned education thinking that it is for a job and salary, like me, in fact, I have not heard about any middle class family in India saying that you go for education for building up character and then human values and then liberation. They are all talking about getting the job. So we all have to learn to dealing qualification with salary and start linking it with our output or work. This work will benefit the employer, which will alone earn us our salary. So a CEO of a company looks at bottom of line of the company, profits and loss account. So do we. We have to look at salary as a compensation for our work, time and effort, and above all benefit to the company, which earns us money. In fact, salary, the word came from salt. Do you know the first salary was salt, and from there the maxim, are you worth your salt, came to existence. Now the question arises, do we want salary or money? I am sure everyone says money. Then to earn money, one need not to go for employment. He or she can be an employer also. In fact, though it may involve risk, employer can earn more money not only proportional to his efforts, but also the risk is for the risk taken. In fact, the profit is 50% for the investment and the risk taking, and the remaining 50% is for the product which we are producing and giving it to the people. So I have covered this subject of or aspect of earning money in volume 2 of my twin series, How to Double Your Profits. The opportunity cost and advantage of self-employed is covered in this chapter for two reasons. One is, end of employment is to be an employer. Second is, at one point of time, you realize doubling your salary is not possible or not enough. Self-employment versus salary is the main topic of this chapter of dilemmas. Okay, why self-employment? Why are the risks and opportunities? Why do you do to avoid minimize risk? No, these are the questions we'll ask. Before we go into the next dilemma, I want to give a little bit of insight into my thinking process. Why I have talked about this topic now, because in fact most of my friends were asking me how to double your salary is basically you are money oriented, and then you are pushing the youngsters to earn more money. So in fact it's on the contrary. the title is How to Double Your Salary. I want to make it clear that it's not easy to double the salary, or it is, the objective is only to double the salary, but this is the what you call as a review of my career. And towards end of my career, I have switched from employment to be an employer. So I still don't know whether I will be successful or not. But what I'm telling is, what one day or other, one has to graduate from from employment to the employer. Because if all are employees, who will provide the employment? So what I want to say is that it's the culmination of an employment is to be an employer. If you don't have guts, or you can't take risk like me, then you can wait till your retirement, and after the retirement you can start to be an employer. Okay. Now what we are talking about is why I'm talking about this at the end of the chapter, because I don't want to be like Alexander. As I said in the beginning of this part 3, there are several dilemmas and doubts which haunt us while we are pursuing a goal. My first dilemma was, should I go on pushing my goal upwards like an high jump? Once we cross, raise the bar. Should I increase my salary limit once I reached it? Second dilemma was, should I settle for salary or self-employment? Third dilemma was, family or the goal. Why the last dilemma? Because many times we forget self and pursue goals and perish on the way, like Alexander the Great. Alexander wanted to conquer India since his childhood. Finally, he could not conquer India because the king of Magadha was a formidable kingdom which had 10 times the army of Alexander. He made a little bit of success in the beginning there when he crossed that river Jhelum with the help of a small king called Ambi. Of course, I would definitely say, because I'm Indian, he bribed the king Ambi and then won it. But then soon he realized it's not easy to defeat the Magadha kingdom. So, and his army also rebelled. He returned homebound. But before reaching home, he died. Alexander was asked by his guru to bring the soil of India and water of holy Ganges and the Bhagavad Gita. If anybody wants to check Alexander's history or story, you can do that. And he could not do both, and as he died on the way. So I decided early in my career, I didn't want to be like Alexander. If I don't meet my goal of doubling my salary, then I would give up my goal rather than sacrifice my happy life and my family for that. So in fact, if you see all the 6 chapters so far we covered, and this looks like an anticlimax, and I'm sure before we go to the next subject of free will or God's will, then we will close this part with my musings or thoughts. Let me first narrate how destiny tests us sometimes. It's a value system which should win first, and the policies then are tested. Then we can not only achieve our targets but also be happy in life. So never give up your principles and value system, so that it's better to give up your life or goals than give up your values. Okay, but many sacrifice their principles or policies to achieve their goal, and I don't want to be one like that, and I don't want my readers all to be like that. I call the people who give up their principles to achieve their goal as weak, and sometimes the world might brand them fraud. For example, Hitler, who did not mind killing Jews nor innocent people and play havoc with the world. I really don't consider Alexander is also a successful man, though Westerners want to rewrite the history saying Alexander the Great. I would say the Alexander is not a great person. Neither he achieved a goal nor he had a great principle. Okay, and I may be controversial in that, but still I would say that the means are as important as goals. In a country where Sri Ram could give up his kingdom for the sake of the word given by his father, a sacrifice, what do you call as common. So I close this chapter at this point, and then the next part we will take about the free will or God's will, and I can give a title to this part, saying that the dilemmas. Thank you. Signing off is the author Raj Polapragada. The how to double your salary. Thanks.